last big free agent prize fell off the market today. Prince Fielder, formerly of the Milwaukee Brewers, first baseman, big hitter, has signed a kind of surprising contract. A lot of people didn't think he was going to go here with the Detroit Tigers.
They have money.
Who have money, right? And they're playing. They're pretty well. They're one of those borderline teams for the past few years.
Beat the Yankees last year.
Yeah, they haven't won it all for themselves though, which is well, I guess what they're trying to rectify at this point. But either way, a lot of people were saying he was going to get 6 years in the 20-ish range. Boom, blows up, 9-year deal for a guy that's 335 pounds. 9 years, $214 million. And then it works out to about 23.8 per year, and makes him, I believe, if I read the statistics properly, the 6th highest paid player in baseball. So with that, Detroit Tigers, was it a good move? Did they have to do it? Just give me your feedback on what you think of that move from the Tigers' perspective.
Sure, I mean, good move for the first 5 years of the contract. Probably a poor move for the next year or two. And in the last 2 years of the contract, it'll be a horrible move.
Right.
He's going to have knee issues. He's going to have just back issues.
Yeah.
Exactly. Obviously, just like his dad. Who was a big guy, but his dad really only played DH for the last couple of years.
Right.
And he doesn't really have a relationship with his dad. Side note, right now, falling out between the fielders. Anyway, I think it was a good move for Detroit. Why not? Right? Why not?
They kind of had to make a move because they were a borderline team last year.
And they
getting
have
to the AFC, the American League Championship Series there, but they didn't get there, and they also Victor Martinez tore his ACL last week. So he's out for the season. That's another one of their big boppers to kind of back up Cabrera. And now you have two of the best hitters in the league, in Cabrera and Prince Fielder, on the same team. You can also rotate both of those guys into DH because they're both technically first baseman DHs. They were saying Cabrera's going to move over to third, but either way, it gives them some flexibility in the lineup, which I guess is good.
I can't see Cabrera doing
That's
third
what they
base.
were saying, man.
No, can't see it happen. I think DH is. I see a crystal ball. I see DH for you, Prince.
Okay, well, you know what? I agree with you. I would rather see Prince DH in 100 games a year as opposed to him paying 130 at first, Cabrera doing the other 130 at third, and then rotating the others at DH.
I remember when Cabrera was a 20-year-old third baseman, which made him even much more valuable, right? Because this was a guy who could fill his position, not playing a stationary position, and hit 340. The thing about, and Fitz and Vig reported on this last week, you can't underestimate the loss of Victor Martinez. Okay, when he was on the Boston Red Sox, he was scary. Over the past 7 years, he's had one of the top 4 WARs for position players, or FWARs actually, Fangraphs wins above replacements. So a lot of that has to do with the fact that he was a catcher. And he was the premier offensive catcher for the past 5 years. But he played some DH, he played some first base, he was part-time DH, part-time catcher, full-time raker, as I said in the post last week. But losing that bat and replacing it with Fielder, just because Fielder swings harder doesn't mean, and his home runs are more epic, doesn't mean that it's any more valuable than Victor Martinez. I remember, back an NBA analogy, I remember Hubie Brown, who was like an old salty earth coach from back in the day. Hubie Brown was a commentator a few years ago, and he was talking about Tim Duncan versus Shaquille O'Neal.
Right.
And he said Shaquille O'Neal's points are loud and aggressive, but they're 25 points a game.
Right.
Tim Duncan is soft, or I'll say quiet points, just as good of a defender, 25 points a game. So Fielder, even though he looks like a beast and his home runs are epic, if you give me the choice between today, not like a 9-year run, Victor Martinez versus Fielder, I'd have a hard time going against Victor.
For me, I'm going to answer kind of 2 of your comments you brought up there. First off, I'm taking Shaq over Duncan any day of the week.
Of course.
But
of course.
I get your point with that.
But it's a lot of, so would I.
Right.
But Hubie Brown's point as the coach was that a lot of that is because of how loud Shaq's scoring.
Agreed.
And how dominant he feels.
And I feel like that wins games.
Even though he's never won a title without having Kobe on his team.
But to bring it down, which was his false, Shaq. Don't mind Shaq has won titles
with Wade.
With Wade, yes.
Yeah.
And but okay, that was the one.
Don't rush me through this, I love talking basketball.
But that's another post.
Yeah.
But let's wrap it up here with the Victor Martinez and say why here's where I do generally agree with you.
Yeah.
Is I'm not going to say Victor Martinez has the same offensive output as Prince Fielder. I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is, by the Martinez going down, problem is you have to replace him with two players. Not only is he a big hitter, he's also your catcher. But, the one defensive position that's actually very valuable. So they need to. I don't know, the Tigers farm system, who their backup was, who's going to be playing catcher for next year. Maybe they have a great guy back there. Who knows? I'm sure Pudge Rodriguez would love to come out of retirement for him. But they have to replace him. Then they have to replace his bat. They've replaced his bat with a little bit of an upgrade, I think. So you can bring in a catcher with maybe a little bit of a downgrade. But either way, it puts the Tigers in a tougher position. I just want to pull one other thing out. Mentioning Prince and Cecil. Realize Prince here is going to where his daddy Cecil played and had that big 51 home run season.
Point.
So, family coming full circle. Maybe it'll bring them back together.